Hello, my friend. Welcome to Reflections and Music, Pro Dio et Patria, Confessions of a Military Chaplain. After the attacks on the World Trade Center in 2001, life in the military changed overnight. Before that day, anyone could drive onto my Air National Guard base without being stopped. Afterward, security forces checked every ID at the gate. Before long, the Army and Air National Guard, along with the reserves, would join alongside active duty forces in the long war that followed. In the Army, chaplains deploy with their unit. In the Air National Guard, however, units from a wing may deploy without a chaplain from their home base. Therefore, even though hundreds of airmen from my base deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, and other parts of the Middle East, I did not deploy with them. A major difference between serving as a chaplain in the Army and in the Air National Guard. I did deploy, however, a couple of times to Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany, where wounded service members from the war were brought for treatment. It did not take long to realize that this hospital was very different from the one I served in Nashville. Each day brought a steady stream of trauma cases as severely wounded soldiers, airmen, and Marines arrived from Iraq and Afghanistan, many of them victims of roadside IED explosions. Some would not survive. One night, while I was the chaplain on call, I received a request to return to the hospital to visit a soldier we had unloaded from an ambulance bus earlier that day. Burns covered his face so severely that he could not open his eyes. He had just learned that one of his friends had not survived the IED blast. The soldier felt responsible because he had been driving the truck when the explosion occurred. He reached for my hand and began telling me about his friend. Soft-spoken and kind, he said, the kind of guy who would give you the shirt off his back. Tears seeped from his swollen shut eyelids as he struggled to speak. Then, after a while, the words stopped, and we simply sat there in silence, holding hands. At one point, a nurse stepped into the room. Sensing the sacredness of the moment, she quietly turned and slipped back out. When the visit ended, I returned to the chaplain's office and wept, not only for this soldier, but for many others as well, including civilians who were experiencing the horrors of war. One weekend, I felt the need for a brief escape to rest and clear my mind. I drove to the picturesque town of Heidelberg and checked into a hotel by the river. The next morning, I went for a run along the trail beside the Neckar River. On the way back to the hotel, I took a different route, passing through the historic town. As Neil Young's It's a Dream played on my iPod, the melody echoed in my ears, perfectly soundtracking the rhythm of my footsteps on the ancient cobblestone streets. My thoughts drifted to the soldiers who had died in the war, and those who would carry their wounds for the rest of their lives. I thought about the toll the war was already taking and would continue to take on the men and women of the active duty military, the Guard, and the reserves. Many had already deployed 2 or 3 times. The strain on their families was almost unimaginable. As the song played, I found myself wishing it could all fade away like a dream, something distant and unreal, a memory with nowhere to stay. But I knew that would not be the case.
It's a dream, only a memory without anywhere to stay.